I'm September Garrett. That was loud. Okay. And I am a child of God. I am a wife to Marcus Garrett, a mother to three beautiful children. I am a teacher by trade. I teach middle school. Going back, this will be my 17th year teaching. Um, Man, I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. I can do a lot of things. But I'm always learning. And so that's who I am individual. I'll let Marcus say who he is individually.
Well, I'm a father, a husband. Um, I uh, I'm a coach. I'm a singer. I own a record label, AR Records, and um, right now I'm working with helping children or helping families. I work at Workforce Solutions under Child Care Services. So uh, that's who I am.
Together, we uh, we're partners in crime. We we work together in a lot of facets of our life. As parents, uh, uh, we have a unique relationship where we are married, but a lot of times we even view each other as brother and sister. I know that sounds weird, but sometimes, like when we have conversations, we have to have it not as a married couple, but just as friends or as brothers and sisters. Um, we we work together in church. We work together at home. Double whammy this morning on them kids today, right in the car. We got them straight together today. But we tag teamed it today. And then geez, what else are we together? I don't know. I guess we are just I guess we are a loving family.
We sing together sometimes.
Yeah, we do not sometimes. We sing together all the time and think about
You said you sing together?
it. Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay, okay. Well, we do have an after party, so if you want
Yeah,
to.
we'll save that for then.
Okay, you're excited. So tell us a little bit more. You said we often, when we have conversations as brother and sister and as friends rather than as married couples. I know this is early in the interview, but explain that to us. Help us understand that.
Mhm. So like sometimes when I have a situation that I'm dealing with personally that has no bearing on us as a couple, and I'll say, hey, I need to talk to you, but as a friend, or I need to talk to you right now as my brother. And the conversation is different. What I say to him and share to him is different, and how he responds back is different, and vice versa when he needs to have a conversation with me about things that ain't doesn't have anything to do with our house per se. I mean, 2 nights ago we kind of had that kind of conversation. It was about somebody else. I needed to help someone else, and so the conversation wasn't about us, but I needed his advice about something that didn't have anything to do with us. And so the conversation shouldn't be about us. We need to keep it focused on my issue. And so, I mean, we are brother and sister in Christ. And so, I mean, we kind of always had that relationship even from the beginning, where we can separate marital conversations and marital topics to, okay, this is a me thing or it's a you thing.
Okay, that's good, y'all. Okay, I think this is one of our first times hearing this. So let's get back into your story to see how you grew to this point. Tell us, how did you meet? And I know we want his version and her version. How did you meet?
How did we meet? He's going to tell you, and I'm going to go turn the air down because it's loud. So he's going to tell you how we met.
Okay. Um, How we met was we both were doing we were both directing youth courses. So there was a event, a singing event at one of the churches in Dallas, and we both were directing, and somehow we ended up in the foyer together. And um, at the time, I was just getting ready to start up Sanctified Harmony. It was Sanctified at the time. I was just getting ready to start it up. So uh, I had heard her sing at another event, another church event before, and so I just asked her did she want to be in a group, and that's how we met. I mean, I think I knew her
Yeah,
from
we've
singing,
always known of
but
each other,
I never met her. So that was the first time we met, was me asking her to sing in the group.
which is interesting because even as kids, we ran in the same circle and never knew each other. Interesting story. uh, Someone who was my boyfriend was his best friend, and yet we never met. When we been there, I mean, that was just when you just calling a boyfriend just to be having a name, ain't like we really did anything. But we ran in the same circles. We just like we knew of each other, but we met at church at a youth event.
So you all were in the highways and byways doing the work of the Lord, and you found each and you met each other. Okay. So brother Marcus, it sounds like was it a pickup line, or were you really only interested in her singing?
No, at the time it was just I was putting together a group and I needed some singers. I mean, I didn't want to sing by myself. I had already been down that venture, so um, I was just trying to get singers at the time.
Okay, 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 September. So from your perspective, what happened? How did what happened? What was your experience?
It was absolutely platonic. As a matter of fact, the event that we were at, I was there with someone else, dating someone else. So no, we had been friends like even before we actually dated. We had been friends for quite a long time before anything like that. He really did. He was like, "Hey, I know you. You sing with such and such," and I was like, "Yeah." And like I sing, but I don't like want to. Like it's not something I just jump out there and do. And so he wouldn't. He when he was asking me, I was like, "Oh, I'll think about it." He's like, "Well, let me get your number. I'll tell you when we're gonna have practice." Like he just knew I was gonna say yeah, even though I said I would think about it. And so I did. I showed up. But no, it was nothing like that. I'm gonna pause for a second. Hey, mama. Hey, Juwan. My daughter, my oldest daughter, is on. Hey, y'all. I love y'all.
Oh my goodness! Thank you all so much. Those of you who are
Oh,
here.
my other sister.
Um,
Hey, Janine.
oh, hey y'all, this is so great. Okay, so then how did you all move from platonic singing group partners,
Mm.
partners in the Lord, to being partners in crime? How did
Oh,
you
my.
how did you move to that?
I was very happy.
Oh, your version is better though.
Oh, we
So
want both versions. We do.
Okay.
Marcus, uh, how did we move from one to the other? Marcus was newly single and we were friends, and he was saying he was gonna have all the fun and he was gonna be doing all these things over the summer, getting to know all the women, blah blah blah. And I was like, okay, well, you need to focus. Okay. And it wasn't about me. My oldest daughter, she's here. She's 25. At the time, she was 4. And she is from his first marriage. Okay. And so she gonna learn some stuff. I told him he needed to get serious and find her a real mama. Like you need to have somebody with you. He was bringing her to me to get her hair done. Like you got to feed her better. She was eating noodles and bags of chips. That can't continue to happen. And so he thought that I was saying that was me. That's not what I was saying. But he said at some point he would like to date me. And I said, if you think I'm gonna let you have your hot boy summer, that's not what he called it. But if you gonna have your hot boy summer and you think I'm gonna sit and wait for you, that sir, that's not gonna happen. And I did not give him an ultimatum. It was not like that at all. But I was just being clear on my expectations and my rules for myself. Not waiting on anybody. And so I guess he didn't want to miss out. So here we are.
Ooh, she said no hot boy summer for Brother Marcus. Okay, Brother Marcus, what say you? What was going on for you, Brother Marcus?
Hey Ashley.
Um, so my version probably is a little different. Uh, Similar but different. Um, we would we would conversate, uh, just about different things. Um, and then we would go to different singing events together and stuff like that. Um, just because either I want to say she was singing with her church, and then I would
Mhm.
go, and then I think I had a couple of singing events, and she would go, and so we were going to different events together, and so we talk on the phone together, and we just was friends. And so I just said, because it's so easy to talk with her, I was like, I could see myself, dating you. But I wasn't even like saying that I wanted to date her. I could just see, I said I could see somebody, me, dating her. And so, you know, but I still wanted to, do my single thing, because, hey, it had been a while since I had been single. So I just wanted to be single. And she says, well, if you're talking about dating me, then it's either now or never. That's exactly how she said it. It's now or never. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, how you just gonna say now or never? She was like, well, you ain't gonna be able to dating all these other girls, and then you think you just gonna come back to me.
Boom, that part.
So I was like, okay, I just did it. So here we are.
No hot boy summer.
Okay, so your hot boy summer was canceled. It was
Right.
canceled. Hmm. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
canceled. Okay,
Just like
okay. So where did you take her for the first date?
my memory's not that good. You might want to ask her.
We had an unofficial first date and a second unofficial first date before we actually had a first date. So my friend was having a birthday party and he was like, do you want to go do something on Friday? I was like, my friend's birthday party is Friday. I always go to her birthday party, right? And he was like, okay, so where can I run into you at then? And he showed up. She had her birthday party at Dave and Buster's and he walked in. And so there it was. So that was on an unofficial first date. Um, I think even before then we might have had a first date because he was like, let's go celebrate, let's go eat." And so we did, and we talked, and that's the first time you said you could see yourself with me, and I was like, "No, sir." And then uh, I don't know, a first official first date. I really don't remember because we had been friends and we had hung out a bunch of times. I think as far as boyfriend girlfriend, I really don't remember the first date. I mean, we had hung out so much before then.
Okay, so it sounds like you all built a friendship that was
Hmm.
based on both singing in the church and then getting to know each other on that level. And then, so Brother Marcus, what made you say to her, what made you go to that David Buster's, first of all? And then what made you say to her, I could see myself with you?
Um, Again, my memory is not that good, so
It was for his birthday party.
I really do think it was just because I didn't have nothing else to do that day.
No, because you had asked
So,
me to go out first, and I told you no.
but I still didn't have nothing else to do that day.
I'm not okay.
That that party was. So, I mean, not that I don't like Dave and Buster's. Dave and the Buster's is fun. So I win. I mean, I don't. I think that's all that happened. And what was the second question?
What made you know that I was something? What was the question again, Kim?
What made you say to September at Dave and Buster's, I can see myself with you. I can see myself dating you.
Oh, just because we had fun together. I mean, when we would be together, we just have fun and we talk. It was easy to talk to her, and then she could do her. So that was a
And
plus.
and you thought I was gonna be like, Mom.
Well, that was, I guess, came later. But
Okay.
her
Wait.
mom is
What came later?
her
What?
mom is a pretty her mom is a pretty exceptional lady.
That's
So
true.
if it ran through the bloodline, then it,
You're
it
right. That was
was.
smart. That was Marcus. You're a smart man. He noticed how Sister Mary Nell Williams is and knew that he was gonna get a good one. That was you are smart. Okay, I like that. You smart. Okay, you guys. So tell us then. Tell us about this proposal and this wedding. Like, what happened that moved you all to the let's get married part?
I love this part. Like my favorite thing to tell people. Um, so Marcus, even still now, is late to a lot of things. And so back then, Marcus would be late. Say we were going to go to the movies, he'd be late picking me up, or we gonna hang out. He'd be late for everything. And he had told me, he was like, "Hey, we're gonna go try this place. It's called Texas Day Brazil. It's a really expensive place." And he was like, "I'm gonna pick you up at 6 o'clock. Be dressed really nice." Okay. He was on time, and that was weird. That was strange. And so I was like, okay, this is serious. Maybe, I mean, we had already talked about, being married or whatever, but the fact that he was on time let me know it was going to be a little different this day. So when we got there, they valet parked the car. We walked in, and I was just in awe of like all the pretty stuff that was in the restaurant. Like they had this real big flower wall, and I think it distracted me from what was really happening because the flowers looked real, but they weren't. And I was like really touching and not paying attention to what he was doing at the time. But I should have been. Everything was 2020 vision hindsight because he was planning and plotting that whole day, like even while we were there. And I just missed quite a few of the signs, and it's because I was just in awe of the place. So, if you've ever been there, they have these cards. One side is red, one side is green. If you put it on green, that means you would like the servers to come and give you meat. If it's on red, you're good, right? So, um, I my card was on red. I didn't want anything, but the waiter still came to me and he was like, "Would you like some back bacon wrapped chicken?" And I was looking at him because I'm like, my card is on red, but he still felt like, well, okay. I was like, well, sure, no problem. So I grabbed my tongs to get the meat, and the waiter's just standing there staring at me and smiling real big. And I'm looking at Marcus like, is this man gonna cut me some meat? He asked me if I want some, but now he not giving it to me. And so Marcus is staring at me like, what are you going to do? So this whole time I'm still missing it. And at the bottom of the man's little skewer was my ring in a box. So it was already pre-planned that that man was going to bring it to me. So when I saw it, and I was just kind of like in awe, and then like I said, hindsight is 2020. Like all the waiters and waitresses were lined up against the wall. They were all waiting to see what was going to happen, but I wasn't paying attention to any of that in real time. And so Marcus walked over, he grabbed the box, got on one knee, asked, and like the people were clapping.
Mhm.
You didn't really ask. Let's be clear. No, you did not
I
ask,
didn't
but you
get on
did
one
go.
knee.
Oh, you didn't. Well, you bent over. It was the same thing. It was
Mm-mm.
close enough.
Mm-mm.
Anywho,
I'll tell my
um,
version.
oh wow. Anywho, I guess they both had assumed that I would like bacon wrapped chicken. That enough for me to say yes, but I was a little slow in the moments. Okay, I guess his version is different because he plotted and planned, so I don't know what he gonna say. Go ahead, my love.
Okay, so before that day, we had already discussed getting married and um maybe when and stuff like that. We had already discussed it because we went to go pick out a ring.
Oh,
She picked out her own ring.
very.
It wasn't like, I had a choice in what I wanted to give her. She wanted to pick out her own ring.
Hold on. We had a conversation about it, and what I said was, I don't have a poker face, and I say things like it is. Do you? Would you rather pick out a ring and me not like it and say so? And he said no. So okay, let's go pick it out.
So again, she picked out her own ring, and so some time had elapsed between her picking out the ring and me actually buying the ring. Well, actually, I guess them sizing the ring and all that kind of good
It
stuff.
was a while, yeah.
So then, um, fast forward, yes, I set it up to where um, it was just like we were just going out to eat, at a fancy restaurant. Because we had never done that before. We had never gone to a fancy restaurant. So this was like the first time that we went to a fancy restaurant. And so yes, we just like anything, had reservations. We sat down and they were bringing the different foods and uh like she said, they came and brought that particular one, and it was sitting at the because at the end of the skewer there's like this little um like a little
It's tongue.
no, it's a
Oh, the
little
base.
yeah, a little base, like a wooden base at the end of the long skewer that the chicken is on, or whatever meat item they're bringing you. And so at the bottom, I don't know why she didn't see the bottom. She looked directly at the chicken, but not at the bottom where the
I
base was.
didn't.
And that's why the man was just like standing there, like there's a whole bottom that you're not even looking at. And so after she finally saw it,
Well,
she picked it off, and then she just started laughing, and everybody else started clapping and stuff like that.
I was laughing.
Yeah,
Oh wow, I don't remember that. I don't remember laughing.
yeah. So it was just everybody was like laughing at her because the man had been standing there for like 2 minutes almost, waiting on her to get the box off the bottom.
Yeah, because I was feeling weird. Like why he asked me if I want some, but then didn't give it to me. I was. I was not paying attention to that. I was just like, this man is weird.
I mean, technically, she didn't even look. She just like glanced and said no, and so that's why he was just standing there. And it was just like, you know, and then she finally looked at him again about a minute later, because he was still standing there.
Smiling.
And so then she got it, and then she just started laughing, and everybody started clapping. And no, I didn't get on my knee. I was still sitting in my seat.
Yeah, but
I
you got
never,
up and you put the ring on my finger.
but I didn't get down on one knee.
Okay, fine. That
I mean,
part
I
didn't
remember
happen.
that,
Okay.
even though my memory is bad. I remember that part
Well,
because
good
we had a
job.
discussion about that. Because you said I never got on one knee because we was
That's
watching some
true.
show. So
That's true.
okay, yeah, but yeah, I
You
got
got
up.
the job
I
done.
put it on her finger, and that was it.
Yeah.
Okay, Brother Marcus said, I have a bad memory, but I remember that.
She refreshed it. She refreshed it.
All right, you all. Well, it sounds like, Marcus, you put a lot of planning into that proposal. So tell us about the wedding, you guys.
Okay. Our wedding was at Firewall Golf Park. It's a it's a golf course. They had never had any weddings there before we had gotten married. So they have a an open pavilion. It's outdoors, but it's still covered. And there's this huge water fountain, and it's out there on God's green earth. I'm like, there's no decorations because God provided all the decorations for us, et cetera, et cetera. Very interesting story. I did not want to have a wedding. I was anti-wedding to begin with. And because my thought process was we can take that money, go on a really nice honeymoon. We were getting a house, we can use that money. I was just trying to be practical with the money. And Marcus told on me to my father and had my father talk to me about it. And when my daddy was unsuccessful in changing my mind, he sent my sister on me. Oh, we was just going down the line. She was like, "You one day you'll wish you had," and I was like, "Well, basically, your wedding was my wedding." She let me pick out a lot of stuff for her wedding, so I was good. So when I finally did give in and said, "Okay, I'll have a wedding," there was only two things I was really adamant about: the location and my dress. And my mother and my aunt Tessie took care of everything else. Matter of fact, they didn't even ask me what I wanted until 3 weeks before the wedding. But we got married at the golf course. It rained that day. We had budgeted for 150 guests, and because it rained, some people didn't come. And it was interesting. The comments I got was like, "Well, it rained. I didn't know if y'all was still getting married." It's like, who spends all that money and then decides because it's raining, it they don't get married? But whatever. We literally had 151 people. We was right at our budget. So I said, "Thank you, Lord, for the rain." And then other people was like, "Rain means it's good luck, blah blah blah, whatever." Um, was mostly family in our wedding. I was only allowed, well, not allowed, but I only had two friends at my wedding because we both have big families. And so it was great. The song that we will probably sing later is the song that we sang to each other at our wedding. Oh, really? Okay. So, like I said, I don't like to sing. I can sing, yes, but I don't like voluntarily like to sing. Marcus has said to me, "Can you do something for me?" I was like, "What?" And he leaned his head to the side and he's like, "I need you to sing for me at our wedding." And I looked at him because I'm like, "You know how I feel about singing." And then he said, "Please." I was like, "Oh, I can't resist it." So I agreed to sing at our wedding. So we did sing to each other at our wedding. And so it's funny because he's giving me that look now. Now that I'm saying I will do it, you don't want to?
You didn't prepare me for that moment.
Oh well, we'll figure it
See, at
out.
least you knew
You
then that you
good.
were going
You
to be.
good. You good.
Yeah. Um, her her aunt and mom did majority of everything, but I did the music.
He picked out all the music.
I picked out everything and how it would go. You know, we had a chorus sing, which was inspirational voices. They sung, which was
He was the
my
director of that group at the time.
my
Mm-hmm.
my 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 kids. You know, I love them to death. They grown now, but you know they sung at our wedding. Um, uh, the my daughter walked down to her own song. I walked down to my own song.
Girl, he walked down the aisle.
Yes. We had somebody play the flute, which was a person in our group called Atlanta. She played the flute. Uh, we had several different people sing, different songs. So uh, there was a lot of songs during our wedding.
Me either, sister Ray. I had never heard of the groom walking down the aisle either, but he said he wanted
Our
to.
wedding was different.
It was different. It
It was
was.
different.
He asked if he could. Well, he didn't really ask. Well, yeah, I guess so. He was just like, "This is something I really want to do," and so I was like, "Fine, if that's what you want to do." And so he picked his own song.
Our
Yeah,
wedding was different. So um, I mean, in a lot of cases, you never hear of a chorus singing at a wedding.
yeah.
So yeah, our wedding was different. I wanted it to be different,
Did
and it was.
Ashley? Did Ashley sing? I see Ashley is on. She was in Inspirational Voices. Was she there that day? I don't remember.
Uh,
I was not there.
Oh, you weren't? Okay, but she was in the group,
Mm-mm.
so
I
I
wasn't.
was
yeah,
like,
yeah, she
Ashley, I
was,
see
but
her on, but I don't remember if she was there
yeah,
I've
singing
been
with you.
chuckling this whole time, just having a good time.
but yeah, yeah. And then yes, we did sing together, so that was to me that was special because you don't see that a lot.
It was fun.
So
We didn't have a lot of excess or drama at our wedding. Like, I see people have, like, they always get upset with the wedding planner and all of that. We kept it light, kept it fun, just trying to get through the day. And to me, it felt like it went really fast, even though I know it didn't. And then at the reception, everybody wants to hug and talk, and so we barely got to eat. I don't think I eat. Did you eat at the wedding? I didn't. We ate later that night. We had the most boring wedding night. We got out our clothes, watched TV, and ate, and went to bed. Like we were tired.
That's beautiful, you all. Marcus was like, we having a wedding because I'm walking down the aisle.
Yeah.
And the music, that is just so beautiful, Marcus, that you infuse the wedding with what you're most passionate about. And even how you all met, that is beautiful. All right, you guys, so tell us, how did your expectations of marriage and who you would be in a marriage change after you got married compared to before you were married?
So before I got married, this is interesting because I watched Aunt Tessie and Uncle Wegger a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, man, rinse and repeat. We gonna be saying like a lot of the same things, and this is probably in the part where we're about to start saying the same things, or at least I am. Um, what I saw my parents like uh, was kind of what I had as expectations for myself. Um, a lot of it ended up not being at all like what my parents do, but it is still in me. Who I am as a person is based on what I've seen from my own parents. Um, so my expectations was that I would cook and clean and take care of him, pick out his clothes and iron for him, all the things that my mother do. And Marcus was like, I can pick out my own clothes. I iron my own clothes. And so the expectation was one way, but in reality, that's like not exactly what happened. As far as like communicating, though, those things still happen. The foundation, things that are really important in a marriage, of course, is still the same. My expectations, I guess, I don't want to say they haven't changed because they have in some ways, but to me, it's better. Like I said, we can talk to each other as brother and sister or as friends at times where I don't know that I had that expectation going into getting married. I know my mother had talked to me about, she had asked me this question. She was like, do you think you'll have to change when you get married? And I was like, no. She said, yes, you will. But that's life. Everybody changes. And she was like, you'll change, he'll change. Y'all will both have to change together. So, um, I knew going into marriage that I would have to change. What I had to change would be different. And she said, at different points in your life, you will change. And at different points in his life, he'll change. Y'all will change together. But as long as y'all change together, she said, y'all will be fine. So, um, I guess going into marriage, I knew that I would have to forever be changing. What about your expectations?
um, the question is expectations for the spouse.
Well, for yourself, your spouse, or even just marriage in general, what your marriage would be, or yeah.
Okay. I guess I didn't have any expectations for myself. because I really didn't. I never really saw my parents together, functioning together a lot. Um, I guess the way I grew up may have been a little different. I spent a lot of time outside or in my room. I was an only child, so um, I never really saw them a lot together because that's just how it was. I spent a lot of time in my room, a lot of time outside. Whatever they did while I wasn't there, I don't know. But by the time I got home from being outside, it was time to go to bed. You know, so and that was pretty much how it was. I mean, growing up, that's how it was. Uh, so going into my own marriage, I only knew basically how they treated me and how they disciplined me and those type of things. So I didn't know what married people should do. I knew how we acted at church. We was together at church, or when we went to an event, or um, I played sports, so how they were when I played sports. But other than that, I didn't know basically what married people do. So I kind of like walked into it kind of blind. Like I'm just gonna do what I know to do, and whatever she know to do, that's what she gonna do, and we'll meet somewhere in the middle somehow. You know. Um, Now with September, some things she is firm on, and some things she can be lenient on. I think we have problems being on the firm part. 'Cause it's like I know we're supposed to compromise, but do you know we're supposed to compromise? So that was, I think that was, my expectation of the marriage is we supposed to compromise, but when do we compromise? Type of thing. So I expected for her to compromise on stuff, and sometimes she didn't want to be in. So, um, I guess that was my um expectation marriage wise is I mean I also expected for her to I also expected for her to do the cooking because I don't. So
Amen, Jesus.
um I
Thank
did
you,
walk in
sir.
with that.
And the Zena, may I help you?
Yes, sir.
Mother, you're not on mute.
But yeah, I walked in with that expectation, and of course, like you said, she was out, like she said, she was already doing my daughter's hair at the time. So yeah, I expected for her to do the hair too. But other
So
than that, I
this,
didn't have no other expectations.
this is something my parents are about to learn. It's my parents' fault that I was really firm and uncompromising at the beginning, and here's why it's their fault. My father grew up in an era where men beat women, right? My dad is 80 something years old. So he taught me and my sisters that we were to speak up for ourselves, look people in the eye when we're talking. You don't let people talk down to you. You don't let people tell you you are this or you're that. And so when you grow up this way of being independent and making sure that you have standards for yourself, and you make sure that you don't let people tell you who you are, right? That they forgot the part, except for when you married, then you really got to like listen to somebody else and talk with somebody else and talk those things out. So I was good on the before part, but I had to learn. And then when I'm having conversations with my mother after I got married, she was like, you see what your daddy is today, you don't know how he was when we first got married. And you have to let Marcus learn, and you have to let Marcus lead, and you have to let Marcus be this person, and you've got to give it time. It just doesn't happen. And I was like, well, y'all should have said that before I got married. So I am very grateful to the Lord that my mother is still around to help guide me through those, because if she hadn't been able to tell me I needed to switch the way I was thinking, I probably still would have been that way. So I got it though, right?
That is so beautiful. I think, one of the things that we heard when Sister Tessie, who is your aunt, your mother's sister,
Mhm,
and her husband were sharing, and what you're sharing too is like the importance of the wisdom of our mothers to
mhm,
to really be there for us in our as we're going through life, but even in marriage, like it is invaluable to have a mom who is a Titus 2 woman who's there to guide you. That is so incredibly beautiful. And it looks like Marcus is real grateful to your mom. He thinks your mom is pretty amazing.
no, here's another thing. I love my family and I'm cool with who the Lord provided for me, right? And when Marcus was starting to call my mom, I'm like, hey, hold up, homie, that's mine. You got yours, I got mine. I struggle with him trying to call my mama, but I understand that they have a different and unique relationship as well. Just last week before last, she was hugging him and telling, "I know you love me," and he's like, "I really do," and I miss you. Like, oh, whatever. Anywho, okay.
That
Yeah.
is beautiful. That is so, so beautiful. So, you guys tell us if you could give your single self some advice. And September, you kind of got into this a little bit already, but if you could give your single self some advice, what advice would you give your single self?
She said I got into it. Okay, I'll start again. What I would tell my single self, man, I wish I would have told myself some stuff to expedite the growing together as one part. Um, I think especially like in church, or maybe I found this after I've gotten married. We'll quote the scriptures that you leave your mother and father, and the two shall become one. Well, becoming one isn't just because you said I do. You have to literally work at it. You have to grow into that. It's not immediate. And so I wish I could have told my single self, um, don't always have to have your way. Don't always have to have the last word. It's okay to walk away sometimes. Because um, honestly, I'm a fighter before I'm a lover. So my attitude was always defensive first. And so I would have told myself it's okay to let my guard down. It's okay to be loving. It's okay to show love without expecting that Marcus would do something to hurt me. I was always on the defensive first, just because uh, you're not gonna get me, kind of thing. So I would have told myself, it's okay, relax, chill out. Y'all gonna be together. You got time. Just chill. Like I would have told myself that. Hey,
Oh,
Boyega.
I guess for me, for one, my my first marriage, I married outside of the body of Christ. So, for me, my first thing is it's probably better to go ahead and marry inside the body of Christ if you already a Christian, and that's because at the time, I was younger, and you can say defiant of what people were saying. Hey, you need to marry. Of course, everybody. I think everybody's heard the sermon. You need to marry. Don't
Don't be
be
unequally
unequally
yoked.
yoked, and so I was like, hey, I found somebody I like. That's who I'm gonna marry, right? And so later on, you actually, at first, every because you're lovey dovey and you know in the moment you almost feel like because at the time this person was still she was going to church with me and wasn't going it wasn't the division of you go to your church, I go to your church, and we meet up later. It wasn't that. We were going to church together, so I felt like everything was fine. But later on, you start to understand there's a reason why that happens. I mean, the reason why, the Lord says basically, don't be unequally yoked, because the division in spiritualness came up later after I was married. You know, then problems started to happen, and then you start to realize, okay, it's really because even though we go to church, it's because you're not rooted. You you hear things and you say you believe them, but because you're not rooted in the word, it affects you differently than it would affect me. And so now we have conflict in the actual spiritualness of the marriage. So you know, for one, that would be one thing that I would say is it's I mean, I guess 19 years later, it's a proven fact that maybe you should, marry in the church. Even though I know it's hard, everybody says, well, they have their different reasons why they can't get, a brother in the church or a sister in the church, you know. Um, and a lot of times to me, it's really selfish reasons of why you can't find somebody, because it's plenty of people in the church. They got these single conferences, man, and it's a lot of people that go to those things. Not that I've been, but I just see, online they everybody taking pictures, and it's a lot of people at those things. So that tells me there's a lot of single people in the church. It's just our own preferences and different reasons of why we want to date, certain people. That's what gets in the way. So it's not that there's not some in there. And then, of course, people say, well, people in the church act worse than people out the church. Well, sometimes it probably takes somebody to settle them down. You know what I mean? Just the relationship, getting together. Maybe they would settle down and be that Christian brother or a Christian sister. But you looking at them in their single date, they having fun. It is what it is. So I think, you got to give it a chance. And that, I mean, that's pretty much kind of like what we did. We were doing our own things, you know. And at the point we had said that we wasn't, settling down with each other. And it just, through being together or being around each other, it happened. So I just think that, you should give it a chance. And the next thing is you know, while you're in a relationship, um, you have to find out what works for you and be honest about it working for you, and
Or
not
not working.
always trying to do what that other person wants. Because then what'll happen is you'll get fed up after so long of just doing what they want. Now you mad because you never get to do, or it never goes your way, or never. So if you don't kind of nip that in the bud in the beginning and say, look, this is what I do, this is how I do it, this is how I need to do it for my sanity, then um you give you give the relationship, or you give it, at least that other person, even the chance to say if they want to go forward with that or not. But at least there's a dialogue about, look, I can't always do everything the way you want it done. You know, there's always the meeting in the middle, but sometimes there is that I got to do this my way and how I know to do it. Because I think a lot of relationships fall out because one person is trying to do everything somebody else's way, and then they get to a boiling point and be like, I'm fed up, I don't want to do it, I don't, and at
Because
that
you tell
time
your younger self all of that.
it's too late to discuss it. At that time it's too late to discuss it. There's just, I need to get away from you because I'm so fed up. We never talked about it. And I think that happens, with some relationships, and it's hard to recover after that.
You tell your younger self all of that.
Hmm?
You tell your younger self all of that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Boy, brother Marcus, you got deep. That was some
Real
good
deep.
stuff. That y'all had some excellent things for your younger self, and I think that singles can really lean into what it is that you're saying. Okay, so tell us, how have you all made it through those tough times when maybe you felt like you wanted to throw in the towel, or you wanted to give up, or you wanted to, or it was just like, I'm, at like you said, a boiling point in this situation. How did you all deal with that, with not walking away and with not, giving up?
I think the first thing is that we individually have a relationship with God. It doesn't make things go away, but it makes things easier to deal with. Um, when you take vows, it's a covenant with God as well as your partner. And so for us individually, the first goal is getting to heaven, right? So um sometimes you got to check that first. Is this going to help me get there, or will it keep me from it? And so in the more difficult times, I think earlier in our marriage, the more difficult times may have been I'm ready to walk away only because of maturity and um, I don't want to say selfishness, because I don't think either of us have been really selfish in our marriage, but it's more like I got to protect myself kind of the thing. But what gets me personally is knowing that I took vows with God, and me having to honor that first. And we had this Bible class at Dallas West, the ladies class. We studied the book, The Power of a Praying Wife, and it came to me at a time where I needed it, where I was at a frustrating part in my life because I felt like the marriage was horrible, but Marcus was good. And I'm like, and I knew that because we have these conversations, right? These detached conversations, not as husband and wife, but he's good and I'm not. And where's the breakdown? Well, it was more probably more on me, but I learned that through the Bible study that some of the times when I'm mad or angry and I am ironing his shirt, but I'm saying you better be glad I have a relationship with God. You better be glad I love Lord first, because right now she be out. You understand? So I really feel like if people who are married and go through tough times without God being the head of it, I don't I don't know how you get through it without. I really don't. Like, we've been married 19 years, and in the hardest of times, it has to be my commitment to God first that has kept me from wanting to walk out, or to from me wanting to do my own thing. We had Marcus and I had talked about a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago. We were talking about a lot of people that got married around the same time that we did. A lot of those people are now divorced. People in the church. We're not talking about just random people. We're talking about people in the church. And how does that happen? And I remember Marcus saying to me that you cannot be married to be selfish in any way. If you selfish in any kind of way, it doesn't work. And I guess that is another thing, is that marriage is work. It's hard work. HEART. It's hard work. You have to choose every day to want to work through it. You have to choose it, even in your toughest and your lowest moments. I'm at that boiling point, like Marcus was talking about. Even when you're there, you have to say, okay, God, it's me and you. I need to go in the closet. I need to pray this out. I need to figure this out. Be still and wait on the answer. But how are you able to get through?
Um, I guess she told the most recent version.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, even though my memory is bad, I do remember some of the bad times. Um, you know, we've had some knockdown, drug out arguments. Um, and I guess that's more of I guess a selfishness on both. You know, when you ain't coming to a compromise. There are those times when you're not coming to a compromise, but you know something got to be done. And you know, we've had times when we had to go to counseling, which a lot of couples don't like to go to counseling.
Mhm.
You know, for whatever reason, you know, they don't think that somebody else knowing their business can help them. You know, we've had to we've had to do that. You know, because we were at that non-compromising situation.
It's not even non-compromise. We weren't listening.
Mhm.
We weren't listening to each other.
Not listening, not compromising. It all kind of works hand in hand. Uh, so I mean, you know, the Lord will send you different, or He will allow you to go through different problems in order to get to the other side of the problem. The problem is in that when you said the spiritualness kind of takes over, is a lot of people won't wait for God to intervene or show you the other side. You know, what we do is we say, hey, you be you, I be me, and we just gonna cut it right here. In which, you know, the Lord sent you, He allowed you. That's what people don't realize a lot of times is when you're going through something, the Lord is allowing you to go through that situation because of what He wants you to come out of on the other side of it. But if you won't go through the situation, then I don't know, you know, what's on the other side for you is you didn't make it out the situation, so you still in the situation. You gonna stay in the situation, and then you wonder why, you know, you always in situations because you don't allow God to move in it. So I think the spiritualness in us allowed us to stay in those bad situations until we can move, until God can show us a way out of it. And once we got out of it, we were fine. But we've had some situations, as I'm saying, it ain't just, you know, because we Christians, everything was easy and hunky dory.
Like I
It
said,
was
it's not
not like
easy.
that.
No, it's not easy,
You
but
know, and like you said, we went through some situations where we were almost at that, you know, hey, you know, maybe we need to call it quits because you want to be you, you want, and I want to be me, and it ain't working. But like I said, we had to go through some counseling, and sometimes, you know, September was the reason why we stayed together. I'll be honest, you know, because it was like, look, you know, we got to get past this point, and we're not getting past this point. So what is it? And so, you know, she sometimes was the one that said maybe we need to go to counseling because I can say in most cases, men ain't thinking about that. You know, that ain't the first thing that we think about when there's a problem. That we just gonna go get some counseling. You know, so if she wouldn't have suggested it, we might not have did it. But that's still, you know, the Lord working through people. You know, however way you look at it, the Lord working through her, the Lord working through that counselor, which one of the counselors was Thomas Jackson, which is gonna
oh,
be on your show.
we saw that scroll. Brother and Sister Jackson is gonna be on. He's a professional counselor. Yeah, love him.
Yeah, I mean, you know, one of those people was Brother Barry at Dallas West Church of Christ. You know, you know, for me, you know, his example of his marriage
Hmm.
was made it where I could listen to him. You know, some people feel like, hey, I can't listen to certain people or give certain people my business because I don't want them to think bad of me. Because of how Brother Barry's relationship was with his wife and his children, I felt like I could listen to him and he could probably help me in my situation.
Brother and sister Matt.
Brother and Sister Matt, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it's good to know some people that have struggled, longer than you have, where you can just sit down and listen and they give you wisdom, you know, and stop trying to do it yourself. You don't know everything. And if you going through the problem that maybe they've already been through, they can just tell you how to get out of it instead of you trying to figure it out yourself.
Mm-hmm. Support systems are very important.
Y'all are blessing some folks. Y'all are blessing single people and married people up in here. So talk to us a little bit about boundaries and trust in a marriage. Like I know that one of the things is that you need other people to help you get through. How do you maintain boundaries, in your marriage with each other, with other people? Boundaries and trust. Talk about that.
Hmm.
I guess I can go first. So one thing that's hard for me is I'm an only child, and so what was always hard for me was to be able to trust other people. Period. You know, um, because I went through a lot of my life in the beginning. Um, you can say like most of my childhood and probably the first 3 4 years of my adulthood, where and it's mainly because I moved around a lot, so I didn't even have close friends. Like some people grow up from elementary and middle school with friends and still got those friends, and I didn't have that because my family moved around several different times. So I always had that, who can I trust attitude because I didn't have no true friends for a while because I moved here, and then next thing you know, when I try to get some friends, I only had them for X amount of time before I moved again, and so um, I just trusting people was hard,
Yeah.
and sometimes still is, huh?
The question is how you proceed.
Well, she said boundaries with people and
Mm-hmm.
with you, so I'm answering the first one. Let me do what I'm doing.
Okay.
So the whole trusting people, I don't nowadays I take them for what they say. If you say something, I'm gonna try to believe you, and if I can continue to believe in what you say, then um I may be able to be a friend with you. But the first time, the first time you lie, or the first time that you do something other than what you said you were gonna do, now I kind of back off, and now that's where those boundaries are. I give in the beginning, I give you, there's like no boundary in the beginning. But after do something like, now there's boundaries, and now I'm protecting myself. Now, as far as boundaries with my spouse, um, the only boundaries that I really have with my spouse is money. Like the way she spends is totally different from the way I spend. So, um, you can say I'm like the protector of the money, and I just I set a lot of boundaries on how we are to spend money so that we don't have arguments about money. And then um I mean I always have boundaries on my kids, so Um, I always and my oldest daughter, Shalise, is probably I probably sheltered her too much because I never wanted her to get with the wrong people, get with the wrong crowd. Um, I wanted her to be, a Christian young lady. So um, I always made sure that she was like right by my side all the time. Wherever I went, she was there. She didn't go over many friends' house. Wasn't no spending the night at people's house. Wasn't none of that. You can go for a couple of hours. You coming back, and then I needed to make sure that those people wasn't gonna be no bad influence on my daughter, wherever she went. So my boundaries on kids was, look, now I think September kind of put all the boundaries on the kids now, but um, I mean I still have my reservations with them as well. With the two that we have at the house now, um, it's always making sure that you not running with the wrong dude, or running with the wrong girl. It's just because now the world has gotten worse. These kids are doing different things than what I grew up doing. So, you know, yeah, those boundaries. But as far as boundaries in the marriage, like I said, the only boundary really is just money. Like I'm the kind that has I gotta always have money. I don't get down to zero in the bank account. It's just I can't even imagine not. I don't know that like bouncing checks. I don't do that. There's always money. So that robbing people to pay and Paul, that's what we're gonna do because we're gonna always have some money. Now her, different case. She would spend, 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 be like, oh, I didn't even see how much I had in the bank. Like, what? Just I mean, you always got to know how much you need to spend before you spend. But yeah, that's the boundaries. And we used to have those arguments before we actually got mature in the relationship.
Exactly. I don't do that anymore.
We would have, you know, what you mean you ain't got no money? You just got paid 2 days ago. Like, how does that work?
Don't exaggerate
that
now.
that doesn't make sense to me.
2 days.
So yeah, we had to develop a system that where you know even though she may spend the way she does, we still pay all the bills. We still do just fine. You know, so
So
that's my
I
thing.
don't. I don't think we have boundaries in our marriage. I don't know if that's like the wrong thing to say, but we really don't. Um, he's saying money, but he's the gatekeeper. That don't mean we have boundaries. Um, Jeez. As far as people outside, well, we both have trust issues with other people, so that really isn't an issue. I feel like sometimes it's a bad thing that Marcus' only friend is me and he's my only friend. Now we have friends, yeah, outside, but Marcus is a talker and Marcus will talk to anybody and he will have a very lengthy conversation. But when you walk away from Marcus, look at Ashley. When you walk away from Marcus, you probably still really don't know anything about him because he's not going to really tell you about himself. When there's things that he needs to talk to and it's just about him, the only person he's going to talk to about that is me. And likewise, I will talk to other people about things, but I'm limited on exactly when it comes to like specific things, especially when it's about me and Marcus. I don't share, and so um, I talked to him a few weeks ago. He was mad at me about something, and I'm like, look, I need you to stop being mad because you're the only person I got to talk to, and I need to talk to you. So like he literally had to stop being mad at me for a second because I needed to talk. We are mature that way now. We're on this side of it. That hadn't always been, but um, we are. And when I say I feel like sometimes that's a bad thing, I know someone who was like that with their husband, and then when he passed away, she felt lost because she felt like she had no one else to talk to because that was the only person she talked to. I'm not at that point. So sometimes I feel like maybe I should have somebody else I talk to, but right now that's not the case. This is it. So as far as boundaries and trust, I don't know that I don't. Well, I don't have trust issues. I don't think Marcus has trust issues. Not with each other. Other people, absolutely. We both have. My mother said that she felt like I was always going to be too trusting when I was little, and yet I'm exactly opposite of that. I don't really trust people all that much. Not with important things, but so we I guess the only boundaries that we have are those with people outside of our marriage. We don't really share what's going on with us because we talk to each other about that. Now, in the past, if we've needed help, of course, we did go to counseling. We did those things, but that's about it.
That's good. Like you are each other's best friends. That is very, very powerful. Very powerful. All right, you all. So, what advice do you have for single Christians that desire kingdom marriage? And you've given us some advice, but give if you have any more, you want to, review what you said. Any advice for kingdom citizens?
Ashley, crazy. I will say this, and I because I thought about this ahead of time. The one thing I would say, and I feel like it was true for me. I can't speak about everybody and not even for Marcus. The Bible tells us that when we are single, we are to be concerned with things of the Lord and how we may please Him. And before Marcus and I dated, that is what I was doing. Working in service, working at work. I was about my father's business. I was not looking for a relationship. I was not looking for a husband. I was not That was not my focus. My focus was on teaching the kids at church, doing whatever I needed to do in the choir because my mother made me sing. Like I was about my father's business. And when I wasn't expecting it, when I wasn't looking for it, when I wasn't seeking it, it found me. Right? The Bible says, "He that findeth a good wife findeth a good thing." I wasn't looking. He might have been. I don't know. That's on him. He's supposed to be doing the seeking, not me. So what I will say is that spend your efforts and your time in the Lord's business. And because whatever God has for you is going to be for you, it's going to be in His time, and His timing is not our time. His ways are not our ways. And so just to always focus on, because honestly, if you are working in the kingdom, He's preparing you for whatever it is that's for you anyway. And you obviously have some things to learn about yourself as a Christian in your Christian walk, and just in your daily self, that you need to be about for your own self. Because I will say this, I see my new preacher. We just moved to West Texas. Hey, brother DeShields, I see him on, and we've had this conversation with him. I my dad is a preacher, and as a preacher's child, you know what I'm talking about, Kimberly. You a preacher's child. You're taught to work in church from a young age. You're taught to work. Marcus' family, same thing. He's been taught to work in church. We've been taught that all of our lives. So apart from each other, we were working so that it helps us when we're together to continue to do the work of the Lord. So that would be my advice, just to focus on God. All the other stuff will be added unto you.
All right, so I'll say um, before
Carla.
before even I got married the first time. The thing was yes, even though I had been taught to work in church, uh, I was young. I don't like to use the word dumb, but I was adventurous,
Okay.
and
All right.
and the thing was I was living life thinking that I can do some things a little differently than the way my parents were doing it, and um, had a nightlife. I was doing a nightlife thing. You know, some people call it partying.
Well,
All right, so
in
so
Jesus' name.
so my thing was you know, yes, I know to go to church, but I'm having fun. And that's what it was. Um, I got to the point where I had even moved in with somebody else, so I didn't even have to pay much in rent and all of that. So I was just having fun. I ain't had no hardly no responsibilities, and I'm grown. You know, so the thing was I lost sight of the Lord. Being my rock, and the Lord is providing, and the Lord is doing all this, and I was just having fun, and the Lord took all of that away from me. Like, I'm talking about, every time I looked up, something else was wrong, something else was happening, and I couldn't realize what was going on. And so eventually it dawned on me the reason why now I don't have a job, why now I don't even have a place to stay. Um, and then when I called my mama,
She said, nope.
my mama told me, "No, you dug that hole. Get yourself out of it." So see, nowadays a lot of these people have, they can fall back on mama. Mama, I'm on hard times. You know, oh, mama let you come back home. That wasn't my case. So at that point, guess what? The only person I could go to at that point was God. I knew it because of how I grew up. I knew that God was the provider, but I didn't live it. At the time I wasn't living it. I was living it like I was doing. So, yeah, I had to go into the closet and in somebody else's closet, and get on my knees, and after I said, and this is really like what y'all see today as far as my music and how I sing a lot and do a lot with singing in the church. Um, that's really where it came from, because I basically said, Lord, if you get me out of this mess, because it
Preach,
really was a
preacher.
big mess.
Preach, preacher.
Lord, if you get me out of this mess, I'm gonna sing for you. I'm gonna use my gift, and that was my gift. I knew I could sing at that point. I knew, because I got a music scholarship, with college. So, um, I knew that was my gift. So I said, I will, because I hadn't been using my gift for God. I will now use my gift. And I said from now on, period. I ain't gonna stop. That's what I'm gonna do. And so after I made that vow, I guess he knew my heart, and I mean, immediately got me out of that mess. Within 2 3 weeks, I had a job, two jobs, got an apartment. I mean, so at that point, now I'm telling people, look, stay with the Lord. However way you feeling about yourself, what you think you can do, how you can do it, always know that it's the Lord doing. The Lord is allowing you to do it, but and you're not doing it. He's doing it. He's the guider. You just the one in motion, but He's guiding your whole life. So if you stay with the Lord, He will guide you into what you need to do. So even meeting September, He guided that to even happen, because we just happened to be at the same place at the same time, doing the Lord's work, you know. And it just had so happened that we were doing the same work for the Lord, just at different churches. And then for us to, become friends first. And that was all the Lord and His steps, even though, I didn't want to go exactly the way He wanted it to go. I still went with what He wanted, and this is what we have.
So you
You
think
know,
if you had surrendered earlier, it wouldn't have taken it so long to get to me?
well, if I would have did my single stint, how you call it, hot boy
That was
summer.
something.
I don't know. Maybe we wouldn't be together. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, it's a good
But
thing you
of
didn't
course,
do
that wasn't in the Lord's plans, and I succumbed to what the Lord
it.
wanted.
Don't say something. She said surrender, baby.
I surrendered to what the Lord. Because when I got the ultimatum,
It's not an
it was
ultimatum.
an ultimatum.
It's not an
When you say
ultimatum.
now or never, what is that? Somebody tell me. Somebody
I
tell me.
just told you
Now or never is a what?
I have
Ultimatum.
standards
It's either you
for
do it now
myself.
or you don't do it.
You can
That's
call it
an
what you want to see.
ultimatum.
You had a choice. She said ultimatum. Now he had a
It's an
choice.
ultimatum.
He had a
Now
choice.
or never is a ultimatum. So, and this kind of arguments we have. Wording. You want this
Wording.
word, I give you
Absolutely.
this word.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I went with what the Lord wanted, so now here we are.
Wow, y'all. Okay. Final question. Who is God in your marriage?
Everything. He's the center. He's the reason. He's the glue. Um, I mean, we've already talked about it. We wouldn't have even been together, or the odds of us even being together would not have happened had we not been doing what we both needed to do to serve God.
Yeah, I know people think that when you get married, everything is scripture, you know, but um, it's not. I mean, we're not throwing scriptures at each other every time there's a problem.
No, not at all.
You know, it's not like that.
I got some though.
But if you just allow the Lord to work in the marriage, and a lot of times it's just patience, just waiting on Him to guide the ship. He will present to you whatever the answer is.
See,
And
I got scripture for all of that. All that what you said, I got them.
I'm not saying there's not a scripture for it. It's just that we ain't throwing the scriptures at each other. And then what we do, sometimes we don't want to hear them,
Oh
do
yeah,
we?
no, because
You know,
you be wanting to throw the scripture when I'm mad.
exactly.
That's not the
Hey, that's
time.
the time when you need to hear the Lord, because He's speaking. But anyway, um,
Marcus will text me a scripture in the middle of the night. Are you serious?
hey, sometimes you have to.
He'll put a whole Bible study together via text.
For me, let me say for me.
He's in there saying he ain't gonna throw a scripture. He do.
For me, it is not good
Ah.
for me to continue to argue, because some things I just need to ponder on before I can say something back to you. Let me figure this out, and sometimes it's better for me to text it to you because I can rewrite the text 3 4 different times and
Amen.
get it right.
Amen.
Now, if I just say it, I'm a blunt person,
Mhm.
and a lot of people don't like my bluntness
Look at
because
Ashley face.
I will say it exactly how it probably should be, but
Uh
that
huh.
ain't really the way you will
Receive it.
receive it. So I have to in a text figure out the best way that you may receive what I'm saying.
Mhm.
And some people don't like that. Don't be texting me. And sometimes she'll do that. I'll text her and then she want to come talk about it. The reason why I'm texting you is because in the heat of an argument I might say something wrong. So that's why we need to keep texting each other so I can keep rewriting to make sure you can
Mhm.
receive what I'm saying.
That part.
But she want to come talk. So I'm
I
just
got too much to say via text, so
and I don't have no problem writing a long text.
and I do.
Just long as I can say exactly what I need to say, how I think you can receive it.
And that's real marriage. Sometimes we don't communicate the same way. We don't.
Like I said earlier, some things, you know, you need to accept that this is how I do it. This is how I do it, and this is how I need to do it. So that again, I can stay sane in this marriage.
Mm.
again, coming back to money,
Okay.
coming back to money. This is
Mm.
how I need to do it so that we don't lose our home and and get a divorce because we can't get the money right. You see what I'm saying? There's certain things that I need to
Yeah.
do, certain things I, to stay sane in this marriage.
You say
Hey, yeah, that's it.
You all have been so amazing with us today. Thank you so, so much. Is there anything, any other advice, anything else on your heart that you want to share with us?
Um,
not I don't, but I do want to say I see a lot of my people on, and I love you all. My sisters, both my sisters, my uncle, my mother, and I know what that means. My daddy is on too. And my oldest, she got on and she had texted me that she had to go back to work. We just moved to West Texas. My preacher and his wife are on. Ashley, golly, Marcus was her choir director over at Dallas West. We love you,
yeah,
Ashley.
one of my kids, one of my kids. I
And
still
now
love you, even though
Ashley,
I ain't seen you for a while. I still love
Ashley
you.
said she getting married. She said
What?
that in the comments.
That's great.
Uh
That's
huh. We'll
great.
sing at your wedding, Ashley. You know it.
We'll make a
Ah,
special
look
trip.
at her.
We'll make a special
Yeah.
trip.
And Kimberly, thank you so much for the invitation. We appreciate you. I'm glad you finally getting to meet Marcus. I
Yeah.
know it's been a minute. Yeah.
You all have truly blessed us today. We're going to say goodbye to everyone now, but we're about to have this after party.
Oh
I
yeah.
y'all
We're
wish
gonna
y'all were
sing.
here.
We're gonna sing. I got you.
Thank you so much. All right. Bye, everybody.